Hey everybody, welcome to our soon to be, I guess it's going to be an annual thing. We did this last year as well. Our Summit 2026 Hackathon All-Stars, where we highlight some of our favorite projects from Hackathon. Hope you all have a great time and sit back and enjoy because we've got some great presenters today. We've got Paul from PriceKubecka, got Robert from Net at Work, and Mike from Crestwood Associates. And then me, I'm Jennifer Douglas, of course, all fun stuff. Would like to say thank you to our sponsor. A quick word from Bill. In finance, we demand vetted proof for every investment. So why settle for hype when it comes to your financial tech stack? Bill is the proven choice, trusted by almost 500,000 customers and built on over $1 trillion of secure payments. In fact, Blackstone is a happy Bill customer. They use Bill to power their financial operations, and now they want to help you power your next barbecue. It's really making me hungry. Take a demo of Bill, accounts payable automation, or spend and expense management, and Bill will give you a 28-inch Blackstone omnivore griddle. It's the perfect way to simplify your workflows and take control of your next cookout. If you want to take a moment and scan the QR code on your screen right now to learn more and request your first demo. Just leave that there for a moment for everybody that's interested. Very exciting stuff. Always have these webinars around lunchtime, so these things make me want to think of really good hamburgers and steaks. So a little bit about acu-connect. If you guys have been to some of these webinars before, I'm sure you've seen me around. I really enjoy hosting these with a lot of really cool people. So Mike is with Crestwood and Team Dictara from Hackathon. Great stuff coming up. Robert Waite with Net at Work did Team Acumatica Go. And Paul Gilfoy with PriceKubecka has Team Whisper. And then we will do questions and answers. So a little bit about acu-connect before we get into this. Our mission is to provide our customers, Acumatica customers, partners, ISVs, and employees with opportunities to learn, share, and connect. If you want to learn more, you can join for free at acu-connect.com. As an independent and nonprofit organization, our operations are funded by sponsors, so we would like to thank them. So our community sponsors, our charter sponsors are always, we love these people. Everybody's contributes and makes sure that we have what we need so that we can give you what you need. We also have some premium sponsors. Lots of fun had with all of these people. Great products. And we could not do what we do without their support. And then we've got a quick save the date. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up. We have our productivity tools that everybody can use. Our spring virtual networking, always one of my favorites. And then from classic to modern, what is new in Acumatica's UI and what to watch for. And then in September, we're having our annual acu-connect virtual conference. And I will stop sharing my screen and let the guys take over. I will keep an eye on the chat, so if you've got any questions, we will make sure that we address those at the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer.
Absolutely.
So as Jennifer indicated, I'm Mike Gifford from Crestwood Associates. And this hackathon, I was fortunate enough to be on the Dictara team. Give you a little bit of an overview of who we are, what the project was, how it came together using AI Studio, and all the good fun pieces in between. So let's get started with that. As you can tell by the logo here, it's kind of centered around field service and communication from the field techs all the way back to the home office. Speak your language, we'll handle the rest was our tagline that I'm sure at some point or another AI created for us, but it was good enough and it worked well. So here we go. Quick shout out to the team. You'll notice, what is there, eight of us here. And I think the interesting part about it is you look at the kind of where everybody came from, what their roles are. there were not a lot of developers on the team. Myself and Ignacio at the top there were kind of the two full-time developers. He was new to Acumatica, I think the week before Summit, something like that. Flew in fresh from Spain, so he was tired. But it was a good combination. We actually ended up being a combination of two teams. There were some cancellations, I think, with the weather and things going on. The teams got a little bit shuffled. So as you look at that team, we all came together at Summit and did not have any preparation for the event. So it was kind of a spontaneous mixing of folks there. But also look, and I've got it kind of mentioned here on the slide, you know, no preparation. Most of the folks aren't developers, and I've heard in the past a lot of folks have reservations about coming to Hackathon or participating if you're not a developer. You know, they feel a bit out of water and a duck out of water. And boy, that just wasn't the case. You know, everybody on our team was able to participate. Everybody on our team made meaningful contributions. Benjamin, for example, came to us on the marketing side, and he did a wonderful job doing the presentation, kind of crafting that together, doing our messaging and all that. Everybody really had a good part in putting it together. So just quick shout out to that, and you know, looking forward to Hackathon in the future. If you're hesitant to join it, I would recommend you do it. There's always a spot for you to participate and get your input and fingerprint on the product. So another couple pieces here that I wanted to call out. You know, at the time of Hackathon, I had been working with AI Studio as it sat in the betas and pre-releases and kind of different versions that have been out, and there were some specific functional capabilities that were going to be a challenge to really pull off inside of the context of Hackathon. So one of which was being able to automate certain actions and do kind of meaningful schedulable activities with the product at that point. And so what we chose to do was, rather than work around that, we chose to embrace it. And the result was, I think, much to a lot of people's chagrin, we didn't write any code. There was no C# code written. It was a lot of low code, no code sort of configuration customization. So bear that in mind as you look at it. I know the other guys on the call here today have some pretty in-depth technical coding presentations, so you're going to notice a stark contrast there. But nonetheless, I think they all contribute a lot of cool functionality to the ecosystem here. So next step, you know, if you want to outline our problem or our problem statement, whatever you want to call it, pain points, it's centered around, and this idea actually surfaced from the folks on our team that were from Acumatica on the product analyst side and also on the technical support side. They've noticed a lot of people having trouble with field technicians getting their data, getting their feedback properly incorporated into their appointments. A lot of times the technicians will have gloves on their hands, they'll have grease or something going on where they can't really type very easily. And a lot of them, if they're out in the field, are speaking maybe their native language, which isn't necessarily the native language of the headquarters, the home office. And so unprofessional notes, different sorts of things where AI really has a strength in kind of cleaning that stuff up, translating it, making sort of decisions based on the language, not necessarily the specific fields that are there. So we kind of use those pain points as our product definition. And ultimately, one of the things we want to do is be able to create follow-up appointments when people enter their appointments, finish their appointments, and circle back. So those are kind of the themes that we chose to kind of address. And if you look at this is certainly not an architectural diagram, but in a way it outlines what we did. The first part here is the field technician on the left with the phone. We chose to kind of leverage the built-in functionality of the phones, whether it's iOS or Android or whatever, using the dictation. You know, you click into a large text field, click the microphone, and start talking. And so we happened, I mentioned Ignacio was from Spain, spoke fluent Spanish, so he started talking right away in a foreign language. And what we noticed when that information came back to Acumatica is that our prompt that we developed in AI Studio could translate it into English, clean it up, take out any unprofessional language or you know, kind of field level notes that maybe need to be prettied up for a customer, and then put those notes meaningfully into some sort of fields that would indicate they needed a follow-up appointment. And that all sort of happened. The AI Studio was where the prompt would execute. And then again, kind of falling back on what can AI Studio do at that point in time? Well, it couldn't call an action in Acumatica to do things. So what we did was created a business event import scenario set up to where When that flag got set, it would go ahead and create your follow-up appointment for you. So in a nutshell, it's pretty straightforward, pretty interesting, I think, to accomplish all those things. And I think my next slide here is to provide a quick demo. So I'm always hesitant to do that in a real world, real-time situation, but let's give it a shot. All right, and since I do not speak Spanish and don't have the mobile app wired up here, we're just gonna open up an appointment that I already have kind of preloaded with what would have been spoken into the system. Hopefully it didn't time out on me. No, I'm not gonna do that. And you'll notice that the original text that came back is in Spanish. I did use a translator to put all that stuff in for me. And what would happen is typically the appointment would come back to the field office, and because we developed the LLM prompts via AI Studio, we're going to have this option down here called LLM Actions Dictara. And so what the person here would do is come in, click on Dictara. It will go off, fire off this process. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I didn't actually time that, so we'll talk a minute while it completes, but it doesn't take very long. And when it's done, it says it's completed, you'll notice that this custom field here, create follow-up, is checked, and that the English AI tab is now populated with the details from above or from the other tab. And it did translate the translated, and I said something to the effect of the client was a real challenge. I don't want to work with them again, something unprofessional. And it said the client was difficult to deal with. I didn't enjoy working with them. Additionally, I dropped my toolbox into their pool. It kind of cleaned all that up into a more professional presentation. It also said that the condenser is non-functional, requires replacement, which triggered the create follow-up appointment. And when I hit save here, the business event should fire off. And if all goes well, we'll have a -9, which we do, which is the new appointment that got created. So all in all, that's what it does. I'll take a quick spin here around the pieces just to give you an idea of how it's put together. And that the biggest, AI Studio component of this is the prompt. And if you look here, we've got this one called appointment description. And all we had to do was kind of indicate that it's going to be pointed at the appointment form, pick the LLM connection. In this case, I had to set one up myself. At the hackathon, they provided all that for you, so you didn't have to worry about those details. We used their language model. And then you can kind of indicate what you want your button to be called. I just called it Dictara for our purposes. And then the guts of it really is here on the instruction side. We generated this. The funny part is we generated this via AI. We used Gemini's AI system to generate the prompt because, frankly, it did a better job than us typing it. So I thought that was pretty interesting and probably a point that I would emphasize for people is to let it do the hard work for you. And then ultimately, we had to clean it up when it came back, add the fields that we've wanted it to look at, add the fields we wanted it to update, set the follow-up flag, all the different things that it did. You kind of indicate that here. You can test it using different records. You pull up a record and actually I got too many. I'm not going to go through that, but you can pull up a record and do a test run here to refine your prompts, and ultimately it's good to go. One other bonus thing I'll throw in there before I kind of hand off the baton here is that you'll notice I'm actually in 26R1, which just recently hit the door, and this AI assistant is really, really cool. This has nothing to do with our hackathon presentation because it wasn't available yet, but I will add that it is something you should look into. As an example, I asked it prior to coming on here, what technician has the most follow-up appointments? As an indicator of quality or whatever, if you have a technician that always has follow-up appointments, you may want to talk to them about it. And it was easily able to go out, look at that custom data that we added, incorporate it into its conversation, and then have all sorts of follow-up, prompts for you. So if you haven't yet looked into AI Assistant, I highly recommend it. It's super cool, has a lot of great functionality, and it's easy to extend into a solution like this. Had it been there, we would have absolutely pulled it in at the time. So I think that's all I've got. I'm not sure if there are any questions or follow-up, or if we're just going to hop right into Robert's presentation.
There's nothing in the chat yet, so let's go ahead and...
Mike, how did you get AI Studio set up on your local? This is what I want to know.
How did I get it set up? You have to fill in the prompt over here, or not the prompt, the connections. You define a connection, and probably maybe the most important part of this before let me go back. Most important part of this is you have to have a license applied to your local instance. That's the key, because then if the license isn't there, then you can't turn on the features. So I probably that's the part that's hanging you up.
Probably.
But that's the key. Same with
I'm
AI
always,
assistant, by the way.
I
So we're
love
all
these
very
features.
jealous.
They are so fun to play with, and I have been thinking of demoing these for my clients, but I'm always like, man, I need to just go through the work to get the license.
Yeah,
Think
it's really cool. It's really cool. On the ISV side, you're able to use the licenses that you pay for on the ISV component. So we have that kind of in our back pocket there, which is helpful for me.
Excellent. Well, there are no questions or anything in the chat, so I'd like to hand this over to Robert. I'm very excited about this product too. Hackathon was so much fun this year.
It was so much fun. Absolutely. So our team was Acumatica Go, and the heart of our application, or heart of our project, was an MCP server. So the overall goal that we wanted to achieve was we wanted to have a conversational dynamic with an AI chatbot that is going to facilitate Acumatica process. So we explored some options in terms of like rolling our own sort of chat interface where we can do voice prompts back and forth. But ultimately, one of our main objectives was let's reuse something that already works. OpenAI has a chat model. Claude, Anthropic has a chat model. And in these modes, you're able to just have an open discussion. You're not interfacing with a keyboard or a monitor of any sort. You're having a discussion with a chat bot that has some AI access. And the way that we were able to interface that into Acumatica was with a custom MCP server. So you wire up a custom MCP server, and then that custom code behind the scenes will engage Acumatica in a way that's going to facilitate some sort of process and push it through Acumatica. We also got some bonus points of interfacing AI Studio, and we figured out a way to trigger a AI Studio prompt at the end of the process to build some sort of process. So I'm just going to jump forward in terms of the demo and then come back. So essentially, what we pulled together for a demonstration is we had a chat with the services. Hey, help me create a sales order. We grab some details in terms of what you need for a sales order. If you're having a conversation with it and you give it incomplete information, it's going to ask you questions about something in terms of filling in that extra detail. And then once the header is filled out, it's a matter of like, hey, we need to add some line items to the to the order, and we wanted it just be natural language. So like if you gave it just a description of it, it's going to go out and do a lookup for the particular item, find the associated item IDs for it, and plug it in without the user actually needing to know this information up front. So we baked some of that stuff in there. And one of the things we wanted to really tie into is cross-selling components of things. So, and this is one of the areas where we got AI Studio involved, was cross-shipping. So like if there's some information on the item in terms of like commonly sold items, we wanted to get that information in there. And then we triggered an order validation process, and that's what got into the heart of AI Studio. We have some information that's pulled back in terms of the results from that AI Studio prompt, and that information got associated back in there. All right, so let me go back up and kind of discuss the technology stack that we use to do all of this stuff. The heart of all of this stuff is an MCP server. Well, what is an MCP server? It stands for Model Context Protocol. It's a protocol that was defined by Anthropic. So Anthropic is one of the leaders in terms of AI technologies, and it particularly excels at coding, coding tasks. Well, the objective was like, okay, well, these AI services, I mean, you can wire them up so that you can do direct API calls to things, but there's no real standard as to how you can set up an API call. There's like so many different ways that you can do API calls. And then you get into what's obviously spaghetti code at this point in terms of like pulling all of these pieces together. Well, the solution to that is an MCP server. And the direct analogy as to like what an MCP server is the equivalent of a USB-C cord for all of the various different serial connectors that you had in the past. You just have one wire that essentially handles all things, even delivering power to your devices and so forth, and it abstracts away the logistics of how a serial communication needs to happen with the various different technologies out there of embedded devices and whatnot. Well, this is the an MCP server is the equivalent of a USB cord that allows a AI service to engage with some sort of system. And what you're seeing a lot of development in recent history around is a lot of like the major players out there are rolling their own MCP server. Some of the more common software platforms out there already have MCP servers spun up on it. And you have Acumatica coming out with an MCP server as well. Well, what we did is we used a custom library to write our own MCP server, and then we hosted that up into a place where that is interfaced through an endpoint, and then we're able to take those chat services from AI, and what we created was really AI agnostic at the end of the day. You can wire the same MCP server up to Anthropic. You can wire it up to OpenAI. You can wire it up to anything that's able to wire up to an MCP server, which all the major players are doing at the end of the day. So in terms of the actual implementation of it, we did find a MCP library that we can use with the .NET stack. Generally, when you go into Hackathon, you're dealing with you're working with Acumatica developers, and their primary language is going to be C#. A lot of common platforms out there use Python for these MCP servers, but we were able to find something on the .NET stack to do all of this stuff in. And within that code and those methods, we would do direct API calls to the Acumatica service. So all of it was kind of worked through the contract-based API. And anything that the contract-based API can do, we can get into code and create methods around what we need to do. So one of the way that a AI agent works with an MCP server is there's a handful of metadata that via attributes within the C# project itself that you define that gives the AI agent context as to how to use your custom code. So essentially what it's doing is it's calling for methods, it's calling for data objects, and so forth. And the way that you structure your C# project is you declare these attributes that explain what the methods are there for. Those essentially are your proverbial tools that you're defining. and you're defining what variables you need to have in order to invoke those functions. And then AI is able to take a non-deterministic approach to that and figure out on its own how to use that tool in terms of the context of the problem that you solve. So one of the, you can write an MCP server that runs on your local machine, but in order for us to engage the actual chat service that we wanted, we had to host this somewhere. And we found a very lightweight hosting platform called Railway. And it's just a super beyond easy approach to just host up an endpoint of some sort. And we were able to take that entire C# library and just deploy it up there so that it's exposed out to where AI services can actually engage it. So pretty much, I mean, we did walk in with like a lot of ambitious goals. That happens for all sort of hackathons where, okay, we're going to do this, that, and this. And then you get to around 8 o'clock and you realize, hey, we're going to need to simplify our project and we're going to have to figure out what we're not going to do. But generally what we wanted to accomplish was like, let's just try to get as much stuff in place where we can have a chat engine engage that sort of stuff. At the end of the night, what we accomplished was like sales order creation, doing some cross-selling suggestions, and then a whole validation process to that did a AI studio prompt that facilitated a process and worked through that platform. And that is pretty much what we pulled together for this hackathon project. And I think and the heart of it was an MCP server. And if you're interested in seeing how this, how you could spin up your own MCP server, go check out Team 2's GitHub repository, and all of the information is there. We did also detail out a lot of information in terms of researching further, and I got some additional technical details here. So notes and development on this project is linked right here. The GitHub repository, and then also a good point of reference is MCP server specifications. So I'm going to just conclude by opening this up here, if I can get to it.
I think you missed the beginning of the URL.
Okay.
While you're typing, Robert, there is one question for you in the chat. He wanted to know if your AI agent setup could generate the cash flow for the next 6 weeks.
It's all about getting that MCP server to facilitate the task, and as long as you get the input variables set and give the AI agent enough context to work with that method, pretty much anything is possible.
I love that response. Everybody's very excited about this tool. And that is the only question, and there's nothing in the chat. Paul, I think you're on deck.
Nice, nice. I cannot express how cool I thought the MCP server was, man. I'm like a kid in a candy store. That this has so many implications.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Let me see
Pretty much
here.
anything that you could do a code, you can direct an AI chatbot to do.
All right. Well,
Like to share?
yeah, let me talk a little bit and then I'll share. My Mac just told me I have a security warning and you guys are going to be recording my screen, so I hope I don't crash this when I try and share. But let me talk a little bit about the use case. So I want to give a huge shout out to my team. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Robert and Mike, can you guys talk about MCP server one more time? Let me see if I can fix this before I share.
Sure. One of the problems with MCP server that you got to kind of be aware of is that it's not necessarily the most efficient way to do things. There's a common problem with like prompt engineering, where like if you wire up an MCP server, it's got to go out and for every prompt that you do, there's a lot of token usage that goes into like going in and reading that MCP server definition. If there's too much stuff going on in an MCP server, it may not necessarily be the most efficient way to prompt something.
Yeah, it's really interesting when Acumatica releases their MCP server capabilities. I think that's going to open up. I think some people saw the demo at Summit where he was able to tie in Claude and a few other things to really interact. It's essentially going to open that, like you said, that USB port to some of this information and allow people to kind of plug things in. So that's going to be an exciting turn when that is available for our use. You know, I'm really eager to see that. Did you get back, Paul?
I did. All right. Let me see here. Can you guys see my screen?
LinkedIn, yep.
Wonderful. All right. I really wanted to give a huge shout out to my team. I posted this on LinkedIn. Our presenter, Snea, recorded our entire talk and through it. It's literally just through a cell phone camera. So it's nothing super fancy, but I would highly recommend, if you are interested, to check out. I posted on my LinkedIn. You can find it at paulgilfoy.com. A huge shout out to my team. Everyone was so instrumental, from Jennifer. I did have the very Jennifer Douglas on my team. Best person you ever want on your team. We had Laura. She's out from PA. So smart. And I am so sorry, Laura, if you do watch this. Unfortunately, all of the amazing reports and the dashboards that you built, I don't have within our snapshot. So myself and Kulveer, we were heading up the dev team. Naveen was also a super smart developer who unfortunately got caught up and was sort of arrived late. Snea, like I said, and Lewis were some of the greatest sales folks I have seen. Here's the main problem we are trying to solve is when we have a salesperson who is on the road, they're about to go visit a client. They have to go get information about the client. Are you expecting them to stop their car when they get to the client, open up their laptop, log into Acumatica, authenticate on Acumatica, pull up the information about the client, yada, yada, yada? It ends up just being a huge time suck for our sales associates who are on the road. And after a long drive, the last thing they want to do is log into Acumatica and pull up all this information. Or subsequently, when they leave a client, they just had an amazing interaction with their customer. They just sold them on $27 million worth of products. Are you expecting them to log into Acumatica and fill out all of those sales order sheets, send them over, add a bunch of the notes and details? It just ends up being a huge time waster. And so, like many people on our team, we thought AI could be a tremendous solution to this. Is there a way that I can just talk straight into my phone? I have Telegram open right now. Is there a way I can speak right into my phone and have it execute a function within Acumatica? And let me show you how we could do that. All right. Let me jump into the technical details, if that's okay. I'm going to nerd out just a bit. We used N8N for our solution here. N8N is a really interesting tool. It is open source. Anyone can download it, use it, break it, fork it, anything you need to do. I would highly recommend, if you are in a circumstance where you have a lot of code within your organization, or even like Robert has a MCP server. The beauty of N8N is it takes black box code and it makes it more visual, so teams can collectively work with it. Does that make sense? And so let me illustrate this. I'm going to execute this workflow, and currently it's listening right now for a Telegram endpoint. And within the sales demo data, we have one of my favorite customers is the Church of the Apostles. I love the Church of the Apostles. They're great. I just finished visiting them. And you know what? Hey, I just finished visiting the Church of the Apostles. Their controller was replaced. And now St. Nicholas is their current controller. His email is santaclaus@example.com. Make sure to send all future statements to him. And remind me next time I visit the Church of the Apostles that it is Santa Claus I need to talk with. So I send that out. Let me jump over to NAN and we can visualize what's happening. It happened behind the curtain. I apologize. This, it triggered and downloaded the voice note that I just sent to it. It checks to make sure it is audio and goes through a process of backing it up, making sure that all the information is correct, et cetera, et cetera. This is the technical details that we try and take out of the black box. And here is the part that I think might be missing within Acumatica. And I really hope the technical team at Acumatica thinks about as they are, I believe they mentioned Acumatica is developing their own MCP server. I really hope they have considered this. Based off of the voice note that I just gave, what did I tell Acumatica to do? To add a note to a customer and to update a contact within a customer. Another thing I could have asked it is, could you send me a report? Another thing I could say is, hey, could you create a sales order for me? How does my code know what the intention of the person who is speaking is? Does that make sense, everybody? And so this is where we brought in a decision tree. And what I love AI for in particular, these large language models, is they are very good at understanding intent. And so we effectively just have these, I'll back it up a little bit. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions we ask it in a tree-like fashion where it's fundamentally asking, hey, is the user looking for a report or are they looking to do a function within Acumatica? Oh, it's trying to do a function? Great. Are they going to use, are they going to do a function within a sales order or are they going to do a function within a customer? They want to modify a customer? Great. Do they want to create a customer or do they want to modify a customer? They want to modify one? Great. And so it pulls over this information and sends it up to Acumatica. Let me show you what that is going to look like. So over here, I can see that, hey, I just finished visiting the Church of the Apostles, yada, yada, yada. This is all the information that I was just describing. And so I will stop sharing my screen for a second. I want you to think about this. The unique scenario that I just described was taking black box code and making it visual. The benefit of NAN as a tool is so I am not the bottleneck anymore. It is no longer the developer that could look into the code and find out what broke. Now anyone on my team can go up to that NAN workflow, find out that where an error took place, and then make sure that it executes correctly. Or a junior member of my team can do it. They don't have to parse through the code to understand exactly what we did. Does that make sense? NAN, an amazing tool for making black box code visual so that anyone can work with it. Okay, let's jump back over to Acumatica and see how this took place. All right, so I have the Whisper client here. Like I said, it got activated over here on the customer screen. Let me see if I can refresh this. Okay, so Church of the Apostle now has a note on it. I'll refresh it here. We can see the note, update contact information. It is now Santa Claus. Statements should be sent to him. Notice that it rephrased it. Mike highlighted that really well in his presentation. AIs are incredible at taking the semantics of me mumbling, saying, and it can clean it up so that anyone can read it. Or in Mike's example, a field service technician can say, hey, that customer is a jerk, but it, cleans it up so everyone can understand. You guys get it. All right. Now, so it adds a note. Great. Notes are easy. Let's find out if it modified the billing contact. So if I jump over here to billing contact, Church of the Apostle, St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, but chink, we're done. And again, all of this is to illustrate. All of this is to illustrate. One, the power of NAN to make black box code visual. Two, the ability to have a decision tree when you take the intent of a user. Robert's solution in MCP server, it is fundamentally what I'm working with the decision tree. I could probably go back and forth on which solution I think is the best. I lean towards the MCP server because it's so much fun. It's just, boy, it's really interesting, but it's not visual. And so you would probably need some detailed logs in there just to make sure that anyone could go and modify it. And then lastly, showing the decision tree and then showing the intent recognition. The last thing I really want to highlight for everyone is I love my company, PriceKubecka. One of the coolest things that I have been working with my boss is my boss can now code because he uses Claude, he uses Gemini or whatever AI agent, and he can go back and forth and come up with ideas of how we could interact with our customers better. I know this is a big shock to everyone. Some of the best software ideas don't really come from software developers. It actually comes from the people who are working with the customers, the people who are in the day-to-day trenches. So I would encourage everyone, play with these AI tools and learn to, the hip term is vibe code. Vibe code, a solution, everything you could imagine. And what I love that my boss will do is he'll take an idea, vibe code or play around with Claude to get it to maybe 80%, and then hand it off to me and say, hey, can we implement this for our customers? The ideas that we've come up with in the last really year doing this is really changing our business tremendously. And so that's my presentation. The thing I really I'm jealous, Mike. I should have got AI Studio set up on my local instance here. This is an AWS instance. But we were experimenting with using AI Studio to take those whispers and then make them into actions within Acumatica. But we struggled with actually activating them.
Yeah, that's what was missing at that point in time, and it is on the roadmap. It is supposed to be there. Not quite sure if it made it to 26R1 yet or not, but that is to me what unlocks the power of it. Once that is able to be done, yeah, it's really
it's
cool.
going to be so much fun for anybody that's got any interest in making it, getting into it and exploring. It's going to be one of the, I think, the biggest things that they've released in a while, and people are going to be all over it. Paul, there is one question in here. Tony would like to know where we hosted the N8N server. Was there a cost to it?
Yeah, I throw it in Hostinger if you're curious. You can do it locally. It's free if you do it locally. The hardest part about doing it locally is being able to send API requests and receive them. It's a networking problem when you do it locally. It depends on, if you have a highly technical person, they can figure it out. There's all kinds of guides online. But at the end of the day, hosting it right now, I think this costs us like a few bucks a month to send it on there. And it's built, it's a Docker container. They take care of it all. I don't have to worry about it. So.
Yeah, we have another question, and this one is going to be for Robert. Somebody says he is not very clear on what the role of the MCP server was in your project, and did it communicate directly with AI Studio, or did it expose the Acumatica data?
It did not engage AI Studio directly. Essentially, that was triggered based off of an event within the Acumatica system, but AI was that triggering mechanism that sent the data to the Acumatica instance. And this was all done directly from the chat interface of the AI service through the MCP server as the conduit that is the liaison between the chat service and the ERP system.
Frankly, one of my favorite parts of this summit was asking every developer how they're using AI. Yuri had so many amazing, just so many guys I could shout out right now, guys and gals that just had brilliant ideas of how they've been using AI within their Acumatica instance. And it is becoming more and more available to absolutely everyone. And so if you want to wait for AI Studio, you can, but you could also just jump in right now and start playing with it.
That's what I say as well. It's like, you don't need to wait. I mean, this stuff has been around for a few years now, and you got tooling like N8N, where if you don't know development, you can use that as a platform. That's a low code, no code platform. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's something that could be understood by non-developers.
I think that learning curve has actually flattened out a little bit over the last probably 18 months. It's been when it originally came out, it was very intimidating for a lot of people, but as it's become more mainstream, I think the end users now have better access to platforms that make it much more user friendly for the layman.
Yeah.
And
the reality is, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say both the tools, AI Studio and AI Assistant. AI Assistant especially is fire and forget. Like, you plug it in, extend it with whatever GIs or whatever data you want, and it just goes. I'm really impressed with that. So it is not, the barrier to entry is pretty low. You know, you better get a big bucket of tokens, I think, for the back end, but nonetheless, it's easy to use and it's intuitive. The LLM prompting takes a little bit of understanding, but nothing I wouldn't expect an end user to be able to do, a technical end user. So I think they're all ready to go, you know.
And if you run into a roadblock, just ask the AI, hey, explain this problem to me. I'm running into this error, or I think this is happening. Explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old.
So we do have another question in the chat. It says, Paul, we used N8N to make your solution no code. Team Dictara, did you guys use a similar third-party tool, and how is it like no coded?
Yeah, I mean, literally there are no extra components in it, so that's why I felt a little bit bad that these guys were out here chewing on all this stuff. I was kind of jealous in a way because it looks really cool, but yeah, the only pieces that we had, I mean, the mobile app, which is native, there's nothing really to plug in there. The voice dictation is part of the mobile ecosystem, so there's nothing there. The LLM prompting and configuration, that took a good bit of time to get the prompt correct, but again, we were working with AI to do that, so that sent us on our way pretty well. And then building the business events in the GI to support that with the import scenario was really it, and at the end of the day, that worked really well. And I know that's kind of what they were looking to see, so we delivered on that. So.
Yeah,
frankly, multi-language, the transformer architecture for all the nerds or non-nerds in the room. LLM's fundamental breakthrough back in, when did ChatGPT get released? 2022 or something, whatever. It came from a paper that was written by Google that introduced the transformer architecture. The transformer's purpose was for translation. So you know what, these AIs, the thing they do best is translation. And I think we all know this. If you've ever written a mean worded email, you can run it through an AI and say, make this kind. They do a great job.
Yes.
Like, and translation goes towards like computer languages as well. And not just computer languages, but low code, no code sort of stuff. So like, I have actually taken stuff that was pulled together quickly with N8N, but we just have like some sort of dynamic behind the scenes that isn't really the greatest platform for N8N to continue on with the next iteration. Well, I give a LLM the whole definition of that workflow. Say, convert this to a C#.
We've even taken
that does that whole N8N routine based off of that definition of it. So like,
it does really well with that translation, because we were able to use it now in our modern UI conversions from classic to modern UI on the customizations that are out there. it actually does, looking at the source that's shipped, it considers all that and creates wonderful outputs. So it's even helping with that process. So the sky's the limit, on that front.
I've been jumping a lot more into modern UI, and I've had more success with LLMs help converting screens to modern UI than any other tool.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mentioned this. This is an aside story. Every time I take an Uber or something like that, and I end up talking with my Uber driver, I encourage most of them jump into code and start playing with it. A lot of them will bring up, "Oh, I'm not good at math." I would argue that if you're good at translation, meaning if you know 2 languages and you can jump from one to another, that's a better indication of your success with code than your math skills, because fundamentally, code is just translating my language into a language the computer understands. And now that we have these AI tools that are phenomenal at translation, they can assist you in creating code that can execute on a computer.
Yeah, and that's the whole what's behind the concept of vibe coding, is that it does reduce the barrier to entry, and you as a non-developer are able to articulate something that translates to code at the end of the day.
So there's another question. They wanted to know if Acumatica has a translation, like a language translation functionality built directly in it.
There's the language sets that you can update. It's kind of a static thing where you can translate your screen presentation, the strings that are in there that can be translated. But I don't think I've seen anything with like dynamic, where if you type it in one language, it immediately translates it into a different one. I haven't seen anything like that. You could probably do that, but I haven't seen it.
There was another hackathon project.
Like I said, I know in our instance, we actually have a localization project for one of our facilities in Mexico because of the need for it to be everything to be in Mexican, Spanish. Lord have mercy. I apologize. That was not for.
There was another hackathon project that I think actually took that on. And I would encourage anyone, if you have a multi-language company, play around with AI Studio and ask it to translate one page to another. Or they haven't released the feature yet that summarizes pages, right? You can use AI Studio to fundamentally summarize a page into a different language. It'll do a great job. You don't need any additional plugins. Just use the LLMs that are already in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I know that believe of 1 or 2 people that I've spoken to since Hackathon have mentioned taking these projects and further and implementing them as side projects for what they're doing else outside of.
These are just 3. I mean, how many were there total? 10, 11, something like that?
I think there were 11 teams this year.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a bunch more out there that were equally as interesting and kind of intriguing when you look at the concepts of what they're trying to accomplish and the tools that they used. It's always exciting to watch the presentations kind of at the end and see what everybody came up with, and spark some ingenuity and some ideas on what you can do when you get back into the office.
Absolutely. Well, we are pushing up onto the last 5 minutes. I've not seen any more questions come through. Does anybody got any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that you need to keep in account with engaging with any of these AI services is, behind the scenes, it's a predictive model. And it's a model that essentially predicts what the next word is going to be and a whole string of that to generate all of this stuff. It's a probability problem. And there is a probability that it will get it wrong. And you gotta be aware of that in terms of leveraging this stuff. Like, I hear all sorts of naysayers like, oh, well, AI, it makes mistakes. Yeah, it's gonna make mistakes.
Well, you can train it wrongly as well too. So garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. So you need to be 100% accountable for what the output is. So one of the things, like, we're in this concept of vibe coding, right? One of the anti-patterns that are being defined is don't vibe code. You do not want a non-developer to create production-worthy code based off of vibe coding. So Paul had mentions, well, his boss is able to vibe code something, and he's able to get 80% of the way there.
Mm.
But in this model, he's handing that off to Paul to validate that code, to determine, is this structured correctly? You still want a software engineer to make sure that that code is right. And there's a lot of advantage from doing this as opposed to using a low code, no code approach to stuff. Because like there's a lot of decision making that happens with the AI services that consumes a lot of tokens. Like Mike mentioned, like, hey, you better have a large bucket for tokens at the end of the day. And you just vibe coding everything and you're letting the AI solve problems that code can solve. It's just an inefficient use of tokens at the end of the day. So there's going to be a place for coding well into the future. It's just that the playing field is being leveled at this point, but you're able to get non-software developers get 80% of the way there with this translation model. As Paul mentioned, this is a translation tool. I can take non-development language and convert it into computer language, but it's a predictive model. It's going to get stuff wrong, and there's a probability in there that code is incorrect. You still need a software developer to validate that code and make sure that it is the way what you need it to be.
Absolutely. So I think we're about out of time. Anybody's, let me share this one more time. If anybody would like to join us for our future events, please go ahead and scan the QR code on the right. I hope you enjoy all of the rest of your afternoon. And thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.